Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. It is Monday, March 4th, and welcome to our Westchester Weekly Update. We'll give you some information about some things that are happening here in Westchester County relating to our county government and some other community activities. We'll be joined by a couple of our key executives from the Department of Environmental Facilities and our Department of Health to talk with us a little bit about the implementation of our single-use plastic legislation, which was passed last year and now kicks into the next stage of implementation. Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive, is out of town this week. He is celebrating the marriage of his daughter. We wish him, Deborah, and their daughter and son-in-law a wonderful life together, and we'll have Ken back here next week when we give our next update. Let me extend to all of my fellow Irish-American heritage individuals a very happy St. Patrick's Month. St. Patrick's Day comes on the 17th, but there are many Irish heritage events that are happening month-long. We've already had the Mount Kisco Parade that was held over the past weekend. There are usually dinners prior to the parade. Eastchester Irish-American Club had their dinner over the course of the weekend. And on your calendar, you can look for parades in a host of different areas. This weekend coming up on Saturday, the parade in White Plains will be held, going right down Mamaroneck Avenue to Main Street. There's also parades over the weekend on Sunday in Eastchester, in Buchanan, and in Sleepy Hollow, Tarrytown. You can check your local information in your town, village, and city halls to find out some of the details. And then, of course, the great St. Patrick's Parade occurs in New York City on the 17th. The following weekend, we have our great parades in Yonkers on Saturday and on Sunday in Mamaroneck on behalf of all the Sound Shore communities. So we're celebrating Irish heritage this month. We have a ceremony here in White Plains in front of the county office building where we will be raising the Irish flag. That is on Monday, March 11th. We'll do that at 6 p.m. and then we'll have a reception. And we do this for all the different ethnic organizations. Last month we celebrated both Lunar New Year for our Chinese neighbors and friends, and we also celebrated Black History Month with not only an event here to recognize that in our county office building, but just last Thursday night, the Trailblazers event, which honored a number of prominent African Americans. And so we embrace all of our heritages. We think this is the mosaic that makes Westchester very special, the we, first two letters of Westchester, the we that makes Westchester so unique and so special. So this month, we look as well at the Irish and also Women's History Month. And there'll be some events along those lines as well, which we'll be happy to tell you about as we go forward. We'll get to some specific issues right now. As I mentioned very briefly, last year, at the urging of legislators Erica Lang-Pierce and legislator Nancy Barr, the Board of Legislators passed and I signed into law a single-use plastic ban here in Westchester County, those very thin plastic wrappers that are used for some purposes once and then never used again, and to try to reduce that as part of our waste stream. It's a complicated responsibility, and once we pass legislation that makes it mandatory to phase these things out in all but some cases, we turn to our capable professionals in a variety of different departments to be able to discuss how we're going to actually implement the law. So I'd like to bring over to the microphone Lou Vitrone, who's our first Deputy Commissioner of our Department of Environmental Facilities, and also Chris Erickson, who's Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Health. So Lou, please step over. Chris, please step over. And Lou will talk about some of the aspects of this, followed by Chris from both our environmental facilities, which is the Department of County Government that handles sewer treatment and also waste disposal, and from Chris, who's Department of Health, is involved in dealing with the health side of these things. So gentlemen, please tell us about how we're implementing the law.
Thank you, County Executive. So each year, over 40 billion, that's right, 40 billion plastic knives, forks, and spoons end up in the waste stream in the United States alone. But fortunately here in Westchester, under the County Executive's leadership and working with the BOL, this new legislation is going to go a long way towards taking plastics out of our waste stream and diverting them out of the waste stream. This new law, so getting back to when the plastics in Westchester County, we have very environmentally conscious residents, and they will often take these plastic forks, knives, and spoons, and they'll put them in curbside with their curbside recycling. But what a lot of people don't know is that when this recycling material ends up at a material recovery facility like our MRF in Yonkers, it falls through conveyors, It gets rejected by recycling equipment because it's so small and narrow and thin, the shape, the size of this material. It ends up getting rejected at recycling facilities and ends up in our trash. So fortunately, this legislation is going to address a lot of that. Under the new law that, as the county executive said, was passed in September and went into effect in September, and now there are enforcement provisions going in effect now in March. Under the new law, single-use plastic items will only be available from food service establishments by customer request only. So this includes plastic knives, forks, spoons, chopsticks, beverage lids, condiment packets. They will only be provided to customers for takeout, or if the customer is staying, they will only be provided for to a customer on request only. And there needs to be signage at the food service establishment clearly indicating that these items are available only upon request. It doesn't matter if you're ordering at the facility, at the food service establishment, through an app, online, over the telephone. The law is in effect in all of those situations. The new law also banned plastic stirrers and splash sticks. So those plastic items will no longer be available from food service establishments in the county. And as I said, we have so much of this plastic that ends up in our waste stream. This law dovetails exactly with our mission at the Department of Environmental Facilities. One of our missions is to remove and divert as much recyclable material as possible from our waste stream, and this should go a long way towards doing that. And Chris Erickson from the Department of Health is going to talk about how health inspectors and inspectors from the Department of Environmental Facilities will be enforcing the new law. Thank you. Thank you, County Executive.
Thank you, Lou. As Lou said here, our department does a lot of inspections already of food service facilities and places that are regulated throughout the county. And so this is one thing that we can check up on when we go out there and do these types of things. So what you can expect from the Department of Health is that for any place that's regulated by our department, we're going to go out there and make sure we check on these types of things. And we're trying to educate people, make sure they understand what the rule says. Although that this rule actually went into place in September, there was a 6-month period where we were out there and still educating people. And part of that happened as our inspectors were doing their normal inspections that they would do over the course of the year, but also sending that out through emails and notifications and posters and that type of educational materials that we have out there, so that nobody's caught unnoticed about this regulation. So from here on out, what you'll see is us kicking up the notch a little bit on that, making sure that people understand that this is now enforceable and there are fines that could potentially be addressed on this if it needs to be. For any facility that's not regulated by the Department of Health, those would be regulated actually by ag and market facilities. DEF will be the responsible party going out and inspecting some of those places. So maybe some of your delis or gas stations or things like that may serve coffee but don't fall underneath the regulations of the Department of Health, or may fall underneath ag and markets. Those will actually be inspected by DEF. So we are taking an approach on this that is educational in nature, but also there are fines that can be assessed on this. And again, something that's important to us as a department for regulating the sanitary needs of the environment that we've already had rules in effect for previously, and those rules don't go away. But this kind of hits on another aspect of it, of there being the aspect of not having extra waste in a facility. So that's pretty much our end from the Department of Health. County Executive, I appreciate your time for this, and I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Chris Erickson, who is our Deputy Commissioner in the Department of Health, Lou Vitrone, who's our first Deputy Commissioner in the Department of Environmental Facilities. The legislation as proposed by Legislator Pierce and Legislator Barr passed overwhelmingly by the legislature, which I signed into law. In the enforcement process that they've just described, the mission here is not to punish. The mission here is to gain compliance. What we're looking for is to have less of these plastic knives and forks and spoons and whatever else they might be in the waste stream for the reasons that were just described. We appreciate, gentlemen, your assistance. We thank you for your time and effort in explaining it. Have a good day. We have a few other things that we want to cover here. And if you'll excuse me just for a second for a sip of water. We want to mention that we have a special effort to make available to public housing authorities funding through Westchester County to make property improvements. The public housing authorities generally are funded through federal funds, and they provide housing for those that are the poorest in our society. And many of those public housing authorities are in our urban centers, the large urban centers like White Plains and Yonkers, and even urban centers the size of Portchester, much smaller but still with the same urban needs. Westchester County now has applications for these authorities to make repairs to their housing that's been long overdue, and they can apply for assistance through the Landlord Tenant Assistance Program, the Public Housing Authority Program. There's an acronym that applies to this. $7 million will be made available for those facilities that are located within the county, and it has to identify those repairs that are necessary and things that are improvements to the properties. The program is designed to assist these housing authorities with maintaining health and safety standards, as well as making renovations that will extend the life of the housing units for the low and the moderate income households. These home improvements can include, but are not limited to, roof replacement, upgrades to electrical systems, windows, accessibility ramps for the disabled, plumbing, and heating systems. Our administration is committed to this program as a means of helping to make these repairs so that we have livable environments in all of these rental units, and we're confident that once we go through this process, we will find ways to be helpful in other ways to those public housing authorities around the county. Those authorities can apply with an application through the Department of Planning website. All applications must be filed by March 29th, at the end of this month. And if anyone has more information, you can contact our Westchester County Department of Planning at 995-2429, or reach us through the website at westchestergov.com for more information for public housing authorities. We're very happy to launch this latest program to be helpful in housing. We've been doing much in the way of affordable housing, and we think all of this stuff fits together in hopefully a sensible and a sound way. Our parks have a number of different events. Usually Ken handles these things, but I'll do the best I can as a pinch hitter this week. We have today a number of different activities, and they stretch throughout the whole week. This coming Saturday on the weekend from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., we have a program at Albert Del Bello Muscoot Farms up in Somers. It's Animal Interactions. It's a private experience to enjoy within one of the enclosures where children can see, touch, and learn about the animals on a farmer situation. That's what we have, a working farm at Muscoot. You can register, get information by going online, and the information is provided for you here. You can call us at 995-2900 to get some greater details. Also, Saturday morning, March 9th at 10 a.m., we have a climate change, habitat change program at the Marshlands Conservancy in Rye. That's on US 1 Boston Post Road. You can call them directly at 835-4466. You'll take a walk through the marshlands habitats and discuss changes in climate and what they might do to existing conditions in that sanctuary and how nature responds to such change. We think it'll be a good program. Dress warmly if the weather is requiring it. Also, Saturday at 9 a.m., Saturday the 9th at 11 a.m., there'll be an open house for the Miller House, the Washington headquarters that's located on Virginia Road. It's in North White Plains, that section of North Castle, renovated just a few years ago by the county. It is the former home of Ann and Elijah Miller, and it served as a place for overnight accommodations for General George Washington during the Battle of White Plains when we were fighting for American independence. So it's got a great historical connection. And then we have a program at Edith G. Reed Sanctuary on Sunday, March 10th from 2 to 3:30. You'll get a chance to overview and see different species of ants and specimens of ants in the Northeast. Great opportunity. Kids love these kinds of programs. You can bring them down to the Reed Sanctuary, which is located in the rear of the Playland complex. So you enter Playland and you go through the gate and go to the rear, and that's the Edith Reed Sanctuary right on Long Island Sound. It'll be a wonderful program. We hope you'll enjoy it as part of the programs that we have coming up. I'm scheduled to deliver our 7th annual State of the County message. That's coming up on Thursday, March 14th at 6 p.m. I'll be delivering it in the legislative chambers here in the McCallion office building, and there's an RSVP required if you want to be able to sit and observe it. There's limited seating, so you want to call as soon as you can, 995-2900, ask for the communications department. Each year, the county executive in office will deliver a legislative address in which the Board of Legislators sees what our legislative priorities are for the year to come and an assessment of where we are at this point. This being my 7th year in office, I look forward to delivering the most recent update to my colleagues in government, and some of that may be seen on TV, general television. Certainly you'll see it here on our Facebook TV program, so if you want to watch it from home or from wherever you have a laptop, you're welcome to do that as well. We hope that will be interesting. You can watch live, or you can come in person if seating is available, and do reach out and let us know. In the next hour and a half or so after this program is over, we will be holding one of our monthly municipal calls. And while it's an invitation for those who are local elected officials in all of the different municipal governments, you should know that we routinely communicate with local towns, cities, and village governments, the chief elected official, usually the mayor or supervisor, the chief administrative official, who may be a city manager, a town administrator, or a village manager, and review with them certain issues that are at hand in county government. And then at this particular one that we're going to have today, State Senator Shelley Mayer will join us for the conference call, which should give an update on where we are with the state budget. But it's a way that we as a county government work interactively with the local governments and the governments around us, so we can be cooperative and try to accomplish what we can accomplish over the course of our responsibilities. It is it's not normally something that the public would care much about, but it's important that you know that we're trying to work together between the different levels of government, because at the end of the day, what matters most is that we accomplish results for you. And most people don't particularly care which level of government does which thing. Most of us don't really know which level of government does which thing. If a road has a pothole in it, you don't know if it's a state road or a county road or a local road. All you know is there's a pothole and it needs to be fixed. And that working cooperatively between the levels of government, across the political aisle, between the different political parties, between those who are legislators, those who are executives, all of those different differentiations have to be harmonized if we're going to produce the result that's most important for you, the individual citizen. Brief report as promised. This is George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. If we have other important issues to communicate this week, we will. If not, we'll see you back here next week at the same time. We hope you have a wonderful day. Be safe.